welcome to my third layout for the Felicity Jane Creative team. I'm excited to be using the September Heidi kits, and laying out all those gorgeous pattern papers just makes me want to get to punching here. So I selected two photos that I think will coordinate well with the colors in the kit. There's the teal, mustard, and Sedona clay color, and I'm just leaving a little bit of white matting around the edge of this photo, and you'll notice that I'm using a photo that has circles in it. It's got the big old coffee cup and the two different sizes of succulent plants behind that, so that gives me the idea that I want to punch different sizes of circles to kind of reiterate what's in the photo. So there'll just be a plethora of different size circles here. Flowing down, I'm thinking I want to do it on the left side of the page just because I think it'll look better with the way the photo is lined up. So this is the fun part. You get to just punch all the pretty papers. And the alphabet that comes in this kit is the pretty mustard that coordinates with that circle I just punched. So I'll be using quite a bit of the mustard color to highlight that. I love this gray wood grain. It looks like planks on a floor, which kind of coordinates with the background in my photo because we have a gray river marble on the floor. So that will kind of carry through. And I love the gray background on that floral. Oh, isn't that just so yummy? Like if I could use tons of that floral. Like I want to make a tea-in with that floral too. And this gray sweater print is going to be really nice. The variety of the patterns that you get in this is just amazing. So I want to make sure I punch two of each pattern, or the front and the back, so that I get both the front and the back for each. So I'll punch two of each. And this one I'm going to try to get the triangles. I like the angles that it's creating here. When I punch in this tiny, that Sedona clay color. And that is this blush with the white botanical organic print on it. It's just beautiful too. So you notice I'm using the florals even though it's kind of a modern, I have the succulents in the background. I'm going to use the florals because I think that they work in this situation. And I can't wait to punch. I wanted to punch, of course, a very large circle of this floral here, because it's so pretty, and also a smaller one. So now you see my background paper. I'm going to lay the photo at the top left quarter of the page, quadrant. If you divide the page into 9 pieces, it's in the upper left quadrant. And so I'm just going to get a variety of patterns and colors and try to space them out so that I don't have two patterns just alike next to each other, which is pretty easy with all the variety that's in this kit. So I'll just go about kind of laying them, letting them drop where they go to give it a little bit of a free-form look to the page. And I really like I guess because the background of the photo has the strong rectangular shape, I really like to highlight the circular element of the coffee cup. So I thought it was just a fun way to get all of because really I just wanted every single pattern in this kit on my page. So I thought it would be an easy way to just punch them all out. So I'm going to go about selecting a bottom piece. And here you see I've taken some of the fun foam and cut out a circle, and then we're just going to use the Scotch Quick Dry and adhere this to that one circle. I punched a negative circle out of the paper, so I'm just going to leave a little bit of space so there's a shadow effect on there. And I punched a negative circle in 2 spots, so I've already covered the other one at the bottom in that clay color from the back, just to give a lot of texture. Because I'm using all of one shape, I wanted to give a variety. So some of them are behind, some are layered on top, and some are popped up on foam dots in different levels. That way it just gives more interest to the page. And it really brings your eye to all those different pretty patterns because they're concentrated on the left side of the page. So here I chose the blush dot as the strip at the bottom, and I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to stitch through some of these circles. There's about 3 circles I'm going to stitch around in a zigzag pattern, and then the bottom border strip that I just adhered, that blush circle, I'm going to zigzag stitch over that, of course, too. But you won't see that on camera. I have to go downstairs to stitch. Now that we moved into this new house, I actually ended up having some of my craft room stuff in the laundry room. So I go up there to record, and then I come back down here to the craft room, because the craft room is quite a bit smaller in this house. I'm making it work though. So you see here I'm using Scotch Quick Dry, and I love the die cut pack. So that mustard colored circle that says Dream came from the die cut pack. And you'll see the stamp that came in this month's kit up there at the top of the screen. I chose to stamp the Hello Gorgeous in a pretty mustard Avery L pigment ink, because I really wanted to add quite a bit of the mustard color because it's so pretty. It's a gorgeous yellow. So here you'll just see me trying to decide where to place each shape so that I don't have like the same size next to each other. So I'm just sticking some of them down with the Scotch Quick Dry, and some of them, like I said before, are from behind in the negative space, and some of them are up on pop dots. And there's more of that fun foam that I'm using. And I just adhere that. Sometimes I adhere it with a Scotch Quick Dry, sometimes I use the score tape. So it just depends on what I grab, kind of what I grab first. So at this point you'll notice that I decided I have that little package, the really cute clear acrylic tin of the Felicity Jane tassels that come in this kit. So I wanted to use, you see I'm adding the mustard, the yellow one up at the top, and then I'll pick a white one to go on the gray circle and a blush one at the bottom. So just 3 little tassels, and I'll end up sewing them to the center, or sewing them so that they hang in the center of the circles that I'm placing them on top of. And I'll just be moving a few more things around here and deciding how I'm going to adhere the tassels. And there's that succulent punch I was talking about earlier. I punched that off camera so you wouldn't have to watch me try to piece that together. There's several pieces. It's a Fisker's scalloped succulent punch, and it does punch 3 at a time with one punch, so it does go pretty quick. I just did it off camera for ease. So you'll notice I'm adding some more of the die cut package, all of the circles that were in the die cut package I ended up using, because I like the font that's on those, and it adds another bit of variety to the circles. So I got out the journaling cards that come in the kit, the 3x4 cards, and I laid them there. I'm going to decide which pattern I want behind the photo there. And you'll also notice that I added some floral die cuts behind the photo. And I'm using the fun foam and an embossing. I know you guys have seen this back when we used to make the roses. So I'm just using the embossing part to kind of curl each of those leaves so that it'll pop up off of the page and give a little bit more dimension. That's a good thing this is sped up, right? I'm a slow scrapper. But anyway, so I keep using the embossing tool until it's curled as much as I would like. And you can see a little bit of the negative punch behind it. And that's okay, I just wanted the layered effect there. So I'm just adding it to that circle that is backed with the same color paper. So I really like those squares on that top journaling block, the 3x4 card, because there's so many circles on this page. I like the geometric with the soft edge of the circle and the straight lines. I like the straight lines in juxtaposition with all the circles on the page, so I'll be probably choosing that to go behind the photo. I'm just laying it there so I can kind of get an eye for it and see if it looks good. I'll have to tuck that smile die cut in there so there's not so much a gap between the blush and the blush circle I just touched and the punched succulent. And there's two succulents that you're probably wondering, why did I only do one? I also punched some of the teal pattern paper, that little crosshatch, but I just felt it was like too heavy, so I switched it out for a tassel at the top there. And I think it works because there's two succulents in the photo, so that makes 3. And your eye always wants the odd numbers, so I think it worked out even though there's only one punched piece on the page. It still reads as a circular shape, so I thought it worked. And I have that Today die cut at the top, but I removed it and replaced it at the bottom left to give it another dimension to that. And there I'm just showing you the Hello Gorgeous stamp and the tassels that I chose to add. I stitched them on with the same color thread as what's on the yellow tassel there. And here's where I choose the journaling block and cut that to fit behind the photo. And I can still use the portion that I cut off on another page. It just happened to fit really well there. So I chose the colors that I wanted to highlight behind there and trimmed that out. And I'm going to put this up on a foam piece just so that it's not flat against the page. It kind of pops up off the page just a tiny bit here. There we go. You just see a little bit of that geometric pattern, but here I'm using my thumbnail to score the fun foam so I know how big to cut it. I know you guys have seen Amy Tan do that. She does that, and that's how, it's funny because that's how I used to mark my paper for trimming before too. So I guess some of us long time scrappers ended up doing the same little shortcuts there. That's funny. And you'll notice I have 2 different ATG guns. One is the photo safe ones that I use behind the photos, the pink, and then the other ATG gun, that yellow one that's in the shot here, that's with, it has non-archival, so I use it. I mean, it's still used for framing and matting, so it's probably okay. I just know that the photo one is acid-free, so. And here I'll get out my T-square ruler so that I can place that photo straight. I don't want it crooked since there's not that much on the page. I just want the photo to be straight. And then once I get the photo on, I'll get to line up, you see the epoxy alphabet in the shot there, and I'll also get to line up the alphabet with the T-square ruler after I get the photo on here. I'm just lifting that up so I can see how it looks, and then I'm going to trim off all the excess here at one time. I got a little tiny bit of that blush paper. It wasn't cut straight. That was my fault. I did it with the scissors, so I just used the scissors to trim it off there. And now that I have a variety of different things added to that left side of the page, and you can see the stamping, it's stamped really well in that. I really like the Felicity Jane stamps. They stamp super clear, so that's a plus. And I'm just stitching on this tassel. I'm going to stitch a couple times and then I'll tie a bow at the front just to give a little bit of extra texture to that circle. And I'm just using the other end, and sometimes I just tie it with the needle still on there, but you can clip it off. And I'll have some final shots here. You can see the different layers and the dimension a little better when I bring it up closer to the camera. Thank you so much for joining me for layout number 3 using the Heidi September kit from Felicity Jane. And stay tuned. After I get this epoxy title on, I'm going to have some still shots here, but I just wanted to make sure I thanked you. Be sure to follow me, and I also have a list in this YouTube video. There's a list of other places you can find my work. I have a studio Calico gallery, I have a Scrapbook.com gallery, so make sure you hit me up and see some other layouts I've created. Thanks for joining me. Bye.